session 5, Global Taxation, is going to be great. We're looking forward to that panel as well. We've got recent trends and the impact on employees and the corporates. Surabhi Marwa is a partner at EY and the Tax and Regulatory Services. Extensive experience in people advisory services. Please come on up. Yeah, please. We're so glad you're here. Yeah. She's a chartered accountant as well and comes with a deep experience. And her colleague at EY and also a partner there is Surabh Ghosh. And please come to the front. Over 19 years experience in the area of human capital, global mobility, covering employee taxation, and in the global mobility advisory services, also a chartered accountant. We've got a great team of leaders up here in the tax and mobility area. Stephen Rao, come join us. He's Director of People Mobility at Sapient. And Pankaj Bhatia, Director of Project Mobility, India, Asia Pacific at Honeywell, brings 15 years plus experience in global mobility with diverse experience in the Big Four accounting firms and Fortune companies. He's specializing in international tax and corporate tax, and we're looking forward to hearing from him and Hema, who is with CSC right now in global mobility shared services for Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Excellent. Panel leaders, please kick this off. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Thank you. So good afternoon. In the last 1.5 days, we have been hearing the various panelists, and I have just jotted down a few things which comes out and which we thought, we will discuss here and leave a flavor of how the world is moving as far as tax is concerned and how it can merge with immigration. So one of the asks and one of the requirements we found that, the general expectation is that immigration is no longer in silo. You have to, we are looking at is the ability to move the workforce. And for that, you have to be knowing not only immigration, but also have a little bit of fair idea about how the corporate tax, the social security, and other provisions work around. So, and another thing which is coming out with, with Brexit and with the recent elections coming in, most of the panelists were of the view that compliance is going to be a very key factor going forward. So when we are talking about compliance, of course, from your standpoint, immigration, whether we are putting all the documents in place is important or not. That's one of the pivotal things to see, I would say. But along with it, what is also more important is that how it affects my company as a whole. Does it, my moves, does it expose myself to any other bigger problems? And whether, I need to consult with my other colleagues in the various streams to make sure that I have a combined roundabout approach to everything. That is what, we intend to discuss along with the esteemed panel which we have here. So without much ado, I would just, walk you through what we propose to discuss today. So we will be talking about a little bit about base erosion and profit sharing, that's BEPS, which is actually profit shifting, so there's a little bit of a typo. Risk of permanent establishment, PE, increase in exchange of information, cross-border, and global employment organizations, GEO. We're keeping in that, I'll ask Surabhi to kindly take it forward a bit.
Thank you, Shuddha. So I'm just going to turn tables for a minute here. I know we as speakers and panelists, you guys get to ask us a lot of questions. But to start this session, I have a question. How many of you are purely immigration folks who don't deal with tax and all? And how many of you deal with both immigration and taxes together as part of your work profile? Can I have a show of hands? Anybody, how many of you just do immigration? Okay, it's post-lunch, so we don't have our hands up. Okay, and how many of us do both tax and immigration? Okay, so did this question come up in your minds when you were coming here? Why is EY presenting also on tax? We are, it's an immigration conference. Why are we really, hearing about tax? Why is it of interest to us? Did that question come up in your minds? Yes? Yes or no? No, wonderful. That makes it so easy, because I was wondering if you said a yes, what answer would I really give you? So I think you answered the question. You're not wondering why we're talking about tax, because as my colleague Shuddha put it, immigration is not something that works in silos anymore. It is something that is linked to lots of other compliances. And what we want to be able to showcase to you all here in the next 40 minutes is how important you are. Each one of you is in the chain of things. How important the data you gather, how important the work you do is really because it can expose your organizations or help your organizations deal with a plethora of issues. You can actually avoid some of the issues that we talked about in the previous sessions on audits. You can actually go ahead and avoid and deal with some of these tax and other issues because you have the right data to guide your tax and finance teams. So without much ado, I'll just focus your attention for 1 minute on a video that we had on our first topic, BEPS. It's just going to tell you what BEPS is all about. I thought it would make it easier for me and Shweta if you had a video to look at, and then we would be happy to take you through some of the finer technical aspects. We should give a lot of credit to the people who make these videos in EY, because the music they choose is so hard-hitting. The music really gets to you. It must be a very important issue, those tones. So the last slide said, ask us how. So Shuddha, how?
Right. So yeah, thank you, Survi. And um, how is a very very interesting aspect that how it's happening. So I mean, what are we seeing in the new world? We are seeing geography has become history. We have people working all around the globe, moving from one region to another region, working there, again moving on to another assignment with the help of, with the help of you. Now, what does this entail? This entails that where is the service actually getting provided? Who is the beneficiary of that service? Where is the value of the service getting accounted for? Now, these three things together, add up to whether I am actually paying taxes where I am rendering the services, or I am trying to move my taxes in a different jurisdiction where my tax rates could be lower. Now, while we are discussing a lot about Brexit, there's one more thing which has also caught attention at least for the finance guys like us. In the case of Apple, now there's been a huge question now that why has Apple been allowed to pay a smaller amount of tax in Ireland, and by that has the European Union lost a huge amount of tax. So there's a huge question going around that. Now, what is that resemblance coming up here? The resemblance is that only a very small portion of the work would have been done in Ireland, if at all. Majority of the work would have done in other higher tax jurisdictions, and you would have gone ahead and paid a very little tax on that. Now, BEPS tries to close or bring into being that, I am not trying to move my tax from one jurisdiction to another. A simple example is that when I'm doing onshore work, whether my profit is actually getting attributed there or not, whether my employees are actually getting valued at that level or not, is a question which comes in, and which BEPS tries to stop or try to ring fence at. So under the BEPS regime, and going forward, what are the things which you would need to be more careful about? One is how you're controlling and tracking your employees, the movement of the employees. Whether you have a complete and a very robust documentation in place to ensure that what is their predefined work, whether it is aligned with the application which you are making for the visa purpose, and whether if required for an audit, whether you will be able to substantiate that. Wherever there are cost charge agreements in place, whether it's documented properly, it's substantiated, as well as it's seen that my cost and my benefit is keen. Also, another more important part which comes into being is how am I structuring my employment? Whether I'm overtly showing that I am an employee of the the home country entity but working in the host country, or how am I putting it out, whether I'm transferring my employment to my home country in principle as per immigration